Hello, everyone. Today is March 9th. March 9th. As you can see, I still have not recovered from my tongue ordeal. There have been various developments. My tongue has grown quite a bit more hair. Uh, And as I say in another video, I think even the parts of my wrist that the graft were taken from have grown more hair. Like there was never hair here before my surgery, I don't think. But something about the surgery made my wrist hair grow on my wrist and on my tongue where the graft was taken. Actually, this graft is not the one. This is the graft where tongue was built from. But enough gory stuff. I'm a tongue cancer survivor. What I really want to talk about is the island of Dr. Moreau. Now, I sometimes go shopping for used DVDs and Blu-rays and things at a place called Willow Video in Langley. And Willow Video had some amazing stuff last time I was out there. I scored on a few fun things. The Blu-ray of Ms. 45, Abel Ferrera's film, put out by Draft House. I've never seen that Blu-ray before. It seems to sell for quite a bit online. I got it for under $20. Yay. There's some fun things. I don't want this to be about shopping. I found some fun things. Ms. 45 and the island of Dr. Moreau, the 1977 island of Dr. Moreau. Now, this is the art that Richard Stanley talks about in the Lost Souls documentary. That sort of sold him on the film. It intrigued him, and that he felt kind of betrayed by, because in the film, as he says, there's no image of a woman turning into a cat. You're going to go to Paul Schrader's Cat People if you want that. And even there, I don't think it had very vivid effects when it comes to Nastasia Kinski's transformation. I mean, maybe they just weren't memorable, but I don't remember it being sort of on the level of the American Werewolf in London. I don't rate Paul Schrader's Cat People very highly. The Bowie song with Giorgio Moroder's "These eyes so green." That's probably the high point of Cat People. I mean, John Hurt is in it, but it ain't Carter's Way, folks. Nastasia Kinski is in it. Nice to look at, I mean, opportunities to see her naked. I mean, less creepy watching her naked in Cat People than it is watching her naked into The Devil and Daughter. But, I mean, I don't know. What else is there to say about Cat People? Malcolm McDowell hadn't started his kind of story about their career period. Like I think, he had some real career lows beginning in the 1980s. I think everyone was embarrassed by Caligula, which was not his fault. I think he actually gives a committed performance. If you watch the rough cut of Caligula, Malcolm McDowell was pretty good in that. And the film is pretty good. If you get the Imperial Edition DVD with the rough cut, the assembly cut, before Bob Guccione decided to rearrange the scenes so that they made no sense and insert a bunch of hardcore porn. That is the version most of us know, and it's atrocious. It's embarrassing. It's impossible to enjoy. But the rough cut was respectable. So, that really screwed up Malcolm McDowell's career. He also plays a punk rock singer, or a supposed punk rock singer, in the movie Get Crazy, which also has quite a fun performance by Lee Ving and some of the other members of Vintage Sphere, but Malcolm McDowell ain't performing with them. He's doing this really embarrassing kind of parody of a British rock star. Um, Get Crazy. My friend David M played it for me, and thanks, David. He also tried to give me Alan Arkus's other film, the noted film, Rock and Roll High School. And as I gather is also the case with Mary Warrenoff, who's in Rock and Roll High School, I'm not a fan. My friend Bob Hannon was actually attending some events in Palm Springs where that Mary Warrenoff was at recently. But apparently she doesn't like Rock and Roll High School. I'm pretty sure Malcolm McDowell would not say good things about Get Crazy. But he's pretty good in Cat People, which came out around that time, and it's an earnest performance by him. It was, maybe it was still where he had it in his mind that he might be a successful feature actor in Hollywood, I guess. And I think within a few years, he realized he was relegated to bit roles and name roles in Z-grade films, or bit roles in bigger movies, or bad guy roles like in Blue Thunder. It wasn't exactly the old lucky man years anymore. Sorry to be rude about it there, Mr. McDowell. But your performances did start to reflect the there's a certain lack of ambition. Brandon Cronenberg used you in antiviral, and I wish he hadn't, actually, because I thought, too bad. You weren't too bad in the Donald Pleasant's role in Halloween. I digress. Yeah. I like Malcolm McDowell, I do. But mostly like Lindsay Anderson era, Malcolm McDowell, Clockwork Orange, Joseph Losey, Figures in the Landscape. I've got that, Robert Shaw shooting in helicopters, yeah. But anyhow, where was that? Cat People, yeah. Malcolm's not bad in that. He's actually probably that in the Bowie song. He's probably the draw for that movie. There's a couple of good, like the arm getting ripped off. It's pretty good. There's some well-handled scenes in the movie, but otherwise, no, we did not need that version of Cat People. But we could have used a version of the Island of Dr. Moreau. Pardon my misspeaking. I have some challenges lately. We could have used a version of the Island of Dr. Moreau that actually had the leopard woman transforming. You don't really get to see much of that in Island of Lost Souls, although it's explicit in that film. If you've seen that film, you know that there's a whole thing. Hang on, I'll be right back. Pardon my being in my underwear here. I see my underwear a little. My thigh scars still have graft sites. Putter my way over here. 12 Laughton movies. 12 Laughton. So, how ill prepared I am for this video. I had to stand up, but I'm not going to repeat it because I'm committed now. Island of Lost Souls. Now this is the consensus best version of the Island of Dr. Moreau. Charles Laughton comes across as a chubby gay Hitler. His mustache seems like a reference to Hitler. I'm not a historian. I don't know if it was intended, but it sure looks that way. And he kind of he plays it up like deMille's Sign of the Cross. It's another example of a film where Laughton uses being gay as kind of source material. Like he really kind of he's quite fey and quite there's a sexuality to him, a sensuality, a sexuality. It doesn't exactly seem straight. And I'm assuming he's drawing on his own personal experiences. Certainly for the Sign of the Cross, where he plays a gay Nero, it's almost a campy Nero. It's and you want to see a movie with Roman emperors that will float your boat. Get Cecil B. DeMille's The Sign of the Cross. You won't believe it's from the 1930s. Frederick March is horrible in it. Frederick March does not work. He's far too stiff, far too much an artifact of silent cinema. I don't know if he ever recovered. I'm not a Frederick March expert, but Sign of the Cross is an amazing film. It feels every bit as contemporary and exciting as I'm not going to walk over there. It feels every bit. I have it over there. It's great. There's also, I believe, it's also Kino Lorber with their generics. No, it isn't. Who put? Okay, all right. Yeah, it is. Kino Lorber, Sign of the Cross. Now, if you don't love Charles Martin, there, look, like that's a very decadent Nero he's offering us. This is amazing. The persecution of Christians in ancient Rome, Nero lounging, playing his lute while Rome burns. It's very, very entertaining, despite a crappy performance from Frederick March, who it's like he's stepped out of the cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something. It's like Caligari isn't stressed to Caligari. He's Italian or something. Anyhow, this is a good Charles Laughton performance. So is this. And this, like Sign of the Cross, these are both two pre-code movies. So I believe there's even some nudity in this. There's a scene where Claudette Colbert is taking a milk bath in like some sort of silk or chiffon gown and see her nipples poking up through the water. It's like 1931, 32, pardon me. So, before Hollywood was censoring this, was a big deal. This was, this is it's quite interesting to see. It's a film that feels very contemporary with its adult themes and grandiose spectacle and impressive sets. It's like watching a Steven Spielberg movie or something. It's not a small thing, and I mean, even Erica was able to stay engaged and play or something that's in black and white. She was asleep in 20 minutes, but she too thought this was a very fresh film. Erica being my wife. So, okay, Sign of the Cross. And then also this is really quite sadistic. It's quite kinky. The story goes that H.G. Wells was disgusted by this because of its overt sadism and sort of, it didn't take seriously his anti-vivisectionist position. He'd written the novel as a tract about sadism and the sciences, vivisection, and was, it wasn't meant as trash entertainment. And I think he took this as trash entertainment. Well, maybe, I mean, I actually haven't read the H.G. Wells novel. I'm sorry. I haven't read a lot of novels that old. I've read a little bit of Joseph Conrad, who popped up in the Richard Stanley documentary about the film called Lost Soul. That's a reference, Island of Lost Souls, which was the first title of The Island of Dr. Moreau. than Dr. Moreau. This was the first film adaptation of it. Anyhow, Laughton's sadistic, he tortures the animals. It's and he's deliberately produced the Panther Woman, so as a sort of sexual object. It's made very clear in this that Moreau wants Braddock or Pendrick, I forget what the protagonist is named in this. Pendrick is the name in the novel, Braddock is the name in the 77 version. What? Yeah, so Moreau, it's an explicit subplot in this that Laughton wants the male protagonist to have sex with the Panther Woman. And I mean, the whole Panther Woman thing, that was created for this film. It's not in the novel. It's an invention of the film, which has been replicated in every subsequent version, like this. Now, the thing about this film is that it kind of adheres to the same basic structure. It adds a couple of interesting things, like the Burt Lancaster Moreau tries to change Michael York into an animal. So there is one animal to human transformation in this film, or at least partial transformation. But there's no other human to animal, certainly not a woman. So where did this art come from? It's like looking at the cover of Prophecy or something, like, well, that's not what the monster in the movie looked like. Clearly, there was some other idea that got changed and the art stuck around. Prophecy connects us with John Frankenheimer, who would later take over for the next version of this, what I believe is the next version of this. I'm only aware of 3 versions. I've heard there were others, including some unofficial versions, but I haven't seen any. Anyhow, so Richard Stanley, who was the original director on Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, David Thewlis version of the story, he was the original screenwriter, original director, and the documentary Lost Souls about how he got booted off the film and what happened to the film, which was a bit of a mess. I think everyone agrees it was a critical dog. It was a commercial failure, recouped some of its money, but it was a disaster story. Lost Soul is, you can stream it for free on Tubi if you want. There are a few commercials interspersed, maybe a few too many for my taste, but it's a very, very funny, very interesting documentary. And so, like I said, Richard Stanley in that film gripes about the absence of a woman to cat transformation. Well, I'm guessing that he only ever saw this version of the film at that point, did not see the Blu-ray. I don't know if this was even commercially available, because this version of the film, it has some fun notes on the back, but the extras are extremely limited. You know, it has this fun facts section, but the special features, which I can't read without turning on my light, original theatrical favor. Oh, that's it. Okay, thanks. Not a whole lot. Now, the Blu-ray that Kino Lorber put out, I mean, they're not Severin, folks. They're putting out some good films. I'm glad they exist, but you know, if you look at Lost Soul, which came out on Severin, holy shit, there's some really cool looking extras on that. I actually have seen the Tubi version. I'm doing comparison shopping to find the cheapest way of getting Lost Soul on Blu-ray, because I do intend to see it again. But I don't own it on the Tubi version, but I stood in the store today and looked at the extras, and well, it's a typical Severin extras package. Like there's a whole other movie worth of little featurettes and interviews, and they've done great work on the extras. I said that as someone who's on the extras on Clear Cut on the folk horror box. But I'm bloody impressed. I know someone else is an extra on that same disc. Kevin James Howes is on that disc, talking about the Ballad of Crowfoot. So, Native North American guy. Yeah. Anyhow, so I think when I was a kid, I did see this when I was a kid. And I also read about it, Famous Monsters of Filmland, and read about it. I think I might have had a comic book adaptation. In the Lost Souls documentary, you do see a comic book. I don't remember all the comic books I had when I was a kid. I did read comic books at one point. I was reading things like House of Mystery or The Creepy or Eerie or Vampirella or Mormon magazine, Heavy Metal. These were part of my youth. It's very possible that around the time that this film came out, I read a comic book adaptation, perhaps even the one that you see in Lost Soul. But I don't know for sure. I do know that when I saw this film as a kid, there is a woman to cat transformation. I remember seeing that scene. So it made an impression on me. It is one of the more effective sequences in the film. This happens right at the end of the movie. The Panther Woman and Braddock in this film, the Michael York character, escape the island. The humanimals. How do you say that? The humanimals have rioted, rampaged, and destroyed Moreau's compound, and Burt Lancaster's hanging in the doorway. And the sort of plantation is on fire, and most of the animals, human animals, have been killed by the caged animals because some of the human animals felt solidarity with the caged animals and set them free. And the actual animals proceeded to kill and eat the human animals. So most of the creatures are dead. Compound's on fire. Moreau's dead. Montgomery's been dead a long time. Nigel Davenport from Phase 4 made. Nighthawks, Dawn, few other films. I love them in Phase 4. My second favorite Nigel Davenport role was The Island of Dr. Moreau. He's kind of a drunken, decadent, nasty Montgomery, but Lancaster shot him a while ago. So everyone's dead, the compound's destroyed, and Michael York leads Barbara Carrera back to the boat that he came to the island on, the dinghy, patches it up. He's been working on it throughout the movie, and they escape to sea and eventually are picked up by another ship. Now, from the comic book and I guess the TV screening I saw of it, maybe how I saw it. I mean, I would have been 9 when this came out, so I probably caught up with it later. It was probably like a back issue of Famous Monsters that I found in a used magazine pile at a used bookstore. I bought stuff like that. I don't think I was aware of this when it came out in '77. I might have been, because I know '77 I saw Star Wars first run thanks to my dad, who surprised me. But I had lured my dad into the city that day to see Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, which came out that year. The worst of the Harryhausen Sinbads. But it's interesting that I was aware of it. It gives me a marker. So I may have seen this at age 9. I may have even seen it first run. Possible, but I don't remember that. I do remember some sort of comic book adaptation. I do remember reading Famous Monsters. And I do remember vaguely seeing the woman to cat transformation at the end of the film. And then, you know, whatever, years go by and I collect a few DVDs and, oh yeah, I gotta have that. You know, put it on the shelf. I'll get to it someday. Well, I probably have had this about 10 years, and someday turned out to be today. Today was the first day where I watched the film to completion. And I didn't even watch this version. I've owned this for 10 years, then I upgrade and watch it on Blu-ray. So I've never watched the whole of this DVD that I've owned for 10 years. So I presumed that at the end, and I've started it a couple times, and I tried to, I think, even play it for Erica once, but she wasn't into it. So I abandoned it. I've been waiting for the day, which finally came. Finished it today. I watched part of it yesterday and finished it today. And I always assumed in having this that the transformation happened. It doesn't. Carrera and York are in the dinghy, and even though the whole film is set up in parallel with Island of Lost Souls, you're expecting the reveal that she's a cat. There's hints in the movie. At one point, Barbara Carrera said to the Michael York character that I couldn't exist anywhere but on this island. That's because he needs constant genetic upgrades from Dr. Moreau. So the beast flesh doesn't come creeping back. The film really, if you know the story, if you know the previous version, you know, if I had actually finished this in the time that I had it, I would have gone, what? York and Carrera are in the lifeboat? You hear a ship's horn sound. You cut to a close-up of York, who believes to see that his animal features in here have worn off. He doesn't have hair on his hands. He's checking himself out, and he looks at Barbara Carrera, and in that scene, you expect that you're going to see her transforming as well. She's reverted to his original form. You're expecting her to start reverting to her original form, the Panther. And that shot is not there. She looks a bit worse for wear. She's been out in a rowboat for a few days. The idea. But she's not turning into anything. She's human. So if I had actually watched this with no preparation, no explanation, I would have gone, hey, wait a minute. It walks like a leopard woman, or a panther woman. It talks like a panther woman. All of these clues are there in the film that it's a panther woman, but no, it's just a woman. Ha ha. So it's weird that they would replicate this idea, even to the extent of having Lancaster looking on kind of approvingly while the Panther woman seduces Braddock. He kind of seems like he wants it to happen. But there's nothing as explicit in this, where Laughton talks about wanting to see if she can sexually desire a member of another species. Quite kinky, really. Anyhow, so it actually works out really well. This is my first complete viewing of this film since I was maybe 9 years old. Maybe I saw it back then. Maybe I saw it on TV. But for whatever reason, it's not really explained here, but one of the cool extra features, which are not really described on the back, but there is they have two different versions of the theatrical trailer, which I don't really care, but they have one cool extra feature that just made my day to see, and it corresponding to what, at the very least, I read in the comic book version. That's memory serves. There's a shot of Barbara Carrera turning into a panther. Her eyes, contact lenses, her eyes kind of yellow and cat-like, she's glowing. She's got fangs starting to grow, and her teeth don't look like human teeth anymore. She's reverted to her animal state. So Michael York has a problem on his hands. That ending, they have one frame from it of the Barbara Carrera makeup. They don't have the whole thing. They just have one frame from it, one still, probably not a frame, a still from it. And they have the caption, "This image only appeared in the TV network broadcast version of Dr. Moreau." So it actually was used. That ending was actually shot. And if you know Richard Stanley, everyone, tell them. You can see that they actually did do this. They actually did. Pretty cool. Okay. So that's enough. I have to cook dinner. What time is it? How long have I been doing this? It's 6:18. Eric will be home about 7:30. I have to start working on dinner. So thank you for listening. This is mostly about getting some speaking practice. And I'm going to also do some more formal exercises to practice the pronunciation of certain sounds. My SLP has recommended a few of these things, but yeah. This is all I'm going to do today. So, if of course, Lost Soul is by far the better film to watch than this. And it might make the Frankenheimer version, the one Richard Stanley was removed from, it might make that interesting too. I think getting into the 1977 version of the Dr. Moreau, which I believe is also on Tubi, you might enjoy it. Richard Basehart does good stuff as the sayer of the law. They faithfully replicate the whole "Are we not men? We are Devo." No, pardon me. "Are we not men?" Routine that Devo borrowed. There's a little featurette interview with Devo about that on this. This is the version you need to see. Between this and Lost Soul, you don't really need to delve into this or the crappy Brando one, but it's kind of an interesting rabbit hole to explore. So a lukewarm this is okay, but one of the best ideas in the film they decided not to use. So maybe they were worried that the hint of bestiality would interfere with getting a PG rating, and they thought kids would like this. But how does that explain it being broadcast on television then? Only late night television? I really don't know. More explanation would have been appreciated. But if you want to see this version, this film, get this version of it and peek at that one frame, one still in the extras. Some reviews I've read online don't mention extras or none there, but that one scene makes this worthwhile. So if you're going to see the film, see this version. Or if you have to see this version and the Tubi version, Google the alternate ending of this. Maybe it's on YouTube. I haven't checked. Maybe there's a still format you can get Google Images or something. So mixed feelings about this as a film. This is a masterpiece. Lost Souls is a masterpiece. Can't say if the Frankenheimer version will have anything interesting in it, but certainly it won't hurt having seen Lost Soul before I revisit it. At this point, the only question is, how am I going to see it? My friend David M. has a DVD of it, but I want to see it on Blu-ray, because why see something on the left? Like, if you're going to see a bad movie, I learned this about, pardon me, but one other great Severin release, Grizzly. I also had tried to watch, I like Grizzly's animal attack films. I love Day of the Animals, but I tried to watch Grizzly on Tubi, and so it's not the highest definition version streaming there, I don't think. And it's interrupted with commercials. Well, if you're watching a great piece of cinema, maybe you can look away during a commercial. But if you're watching a kind of so-so piece of cinema, you want the best possible quality. You want to see a good print of the film. You want to see a good version of it, because the movie's not that good. At least it can look good, as opposed to, see a movie like for decades, like a movie like Rituals, this fantastic Canadian film. I've been watching like pink, scratchy transfers of it. I had a bootleg of it that looked like crap, chopped up, scratchy. Not even a bootleg, just a lazy public domain version before Code Red put out theirs, and I think Scorpion released and did the next version. A great film like that, you'll watch however you can see it. You'll even watch the mutilated version if it's all you can get. Like, oh, they don't have Ganser and Hess, but they have Blood Couple. Yes, I think Blood Couple was the name. But a film like The Island of Dr. Moreau, you want to see the best possible version. So do I want to just borrow the DVD? Will I actually be able to care enough about it as a DVD, or should I get the next Blu-ray? Well, the Blu-ray is not cheap, but and want to buy me a nice birthday gift, the Blu-ray of The Island of Dr. Moreau. I keep wanting to say Monroe. I don't know why. I never had this problem before my tongue operation, really. Of any of these, actually, the best film I've talked about, The Sign of the Cross. So you want to see a good film put out by Kingdom Lorber with some cool extras too, commentary, things like that. This, The Sign of the Cross, that is an amazing film. Charles Laughton blow you away at that. But this is also a great film. These are two must-see films. I'm done. Thanks.